Welcome everyone, this is a Tools Programmer, and today we're seeing how the Warcraft 3 editor boosted the whole game industry forever. Let's get to it.
First, let's talk a bit about the Warcraft franchise. The first few Warcraft games created by Blizzard Entertainment, currently Activision Blizzard, were real-time strategy games, or RTS. They stood, and still stand, as a pillar in their genre thanks to their lore, their gameplay possibilities, their online multiplayer gaming, expansive multiplayer options, and powerful editing tools. The series has evolved over years, delivering a remarkable gaming experience that has really left a footprint on the industry. The franchise kicked off in 1994 with Warcraft, Orcs and Humans, introducing the players to the high fantasy world of Azeroth, where they could choose to play as two different races, either the good humans or the evil orcs. This original game laid the foundation for the franchise's iconic blend of strategy and storytelling. It featured a single-player campaign with increasingly challenging missions, and its multiplayer mode set the stage for competitive play. Moreover, the RTS genre was still a fairly new concept at the time, so the game was quite an innovation, and that helped a lot in its popularity. Building on the success of the original, and only 1 year later, in 1995, we got Warcraft 2, Tides of Darkness, which expanded the gameplay with naval battles and introduced the legendary map editor. This editor empowered players to craft their own maps and scenarios, adding a whole new dimension to the game's replayability and giving birth to a flourishing custom map community. The franchise's monumental leap occurred in 2002 with the release of Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos, and later on with its expansion, The Frozen Throne. Moving aside from the traditional RTS formula, this installment introduced lots of RPG touches, role-playing game touches, like hero units that could level up with abilities, objects, inventories, and of course there was an even deeper focus on storytelling through the campaigns.
My household, until the flame of life has been snuffed out forever.
I won't allow it, Mal'Ganis. Better that these people die by my hand than serve as your slaves in death.
The game's map editor, named simply the World Editor, became a sensation, spawning an entire ecosystem of custom games, including the immensely popular Defense of the Ancients, also known as Dota, which later evolved into its own standalone game.
Later on, the franchise grew even bigger by landing on completely different kind of games, like World of Warcraft or Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. But those are completely different genres and are way too off for the scope of this video. And that's all Blizzard made with the Warcraft franchise, right?
Finally, we can also notably point out that after 20 years of Warcraft 3, not only is the franchise and the game itself still alive, but there's even esports on it. Tournaments and competitions in the Warcraft franchise were a staple, showcasing the strategic prowess of top players and the passion of the community. The Warcraft 3 competitive scene, for example, boasted tournaments like the WGL, the Warcraft Gold League, and DreamHack Warcraft 3 Championship, with prizes up to $50,000, which is kinda crazy, if you tell me.
Evil potion on him as well. We have to be careful about the timings. Demon Hunter is going to be in trouble in a moment. Can he save him? Demon Hunter exposed.
Okay, now that we know a bit more about the franchise, what is so special about the Warcraft 3 editor? Well, its success lies on its versatility. It is, or at least, well, it was at the time, a very highly unique and innovative editor, because unlike its predecessor, the Warcraft 2 editor, it wasn't just a level editor, it was a you can do anything editor. Other game editors until then were much more narrow and specific. They focused on the main gameplay, providing tools for the given mechanics. For example, games that had battles on a scenario tended to either have a scenario editor, a map editor, or simply provide a way for users to import files from a third-party tool.
In Worms Armageddon, you could paint your own battlefield using some external tools. And in some versions of the game, You could also limitedly create custom weapons. But that's it. Always worms, always turn-based combats, always the same game loop. The same happened with all FPS editors, like Quake, where you could play a lot with the ground, walls, rooms, and so on. Or, as mentioned earlier, the Warcraft 2 editor. Other type of games, more focused on visuals and customization, also had their own powerful editors. Spore, for example, had this amazing creature editor with tons of options to play with. You could make your own living being, vertebrate by vertebrate, the limbs set in the type of mouth, omnivore, herbivore, the skin, whatever. But still, you could not modify the environment or how the game was played. Same with The Sims. You could customize your character and the in-game house decoration, but that was about it.
Warcraft 3 editor provided all of that altogether, and even more. While it's true that a lot of games could have much more customization through modding, that was a very complex process. It required more knowledge, visiting forums, downloading suspicious files or code that you needed to execute, assets, whatever. Extra work that only the fanatics would take. On the other hand, the versatility and accessibility of the Warcraft 3 editor totally beat the other options. You could create custom scenarios, custom units, abilities, objects, custom campaigns, but also custom scripting and AI. One of the most groundbreaking features was the ability to write custom rules and implement complex AI logic. This allowed map creators to craft dynamics and immersive experiences, adding layers of interactivity beyond what was possible in other games of the time. This meant that players could experiment with creating hybrid games that incorporated not only the original gameplay elements of real-time strategy and role-playing, but also others, like tower defense, racing, and more. This cross-genre capability was very uncommon and led to the creation of entirely new gaming experiences. Warcraft 3 was also one of the first games to actively encourage and facilitate the creation of custom maps within its core gameplay, providing players with an avenue to not only modify the game, but also to create entirely new concepts. This encouraged an incredibly passionate and active community of map creators, leading to a continuous influx of new content, including multiplayer maps, single-player campaigns, and even innovative minigames. The strong community engagement extended the longevity of the game and kept players coming back for more. One of the highlights in community-created maps is of course Defense of the Ancients, or Dota, as it had profound consequences for the gaming industry. Dota eventually evolved into a standalone game, Dota 2, and inspired League of Legends, both of which became major players in the esports scene. This demonstrated how a custom map created within a games editor could have a lasting impact on the entire industry. The editor also allowed aspiring game developers to learn about map design, scripting, gameplay mechanics. Many successful game developers attribute their early experiences with the Warcraft 3 world editor as a stepping forward to their careers. I strongly include myself here. Even though the Warcraft 3 editor didn't directly provide me a job, it did help me realize that that kind of work is what I wanted to do with my life, and really helped me learn a lot in the process of just using it. Finally, the Warcraft 3 editor also set a precedent for future games to create robust and powerful editing tools to help their communities make the games grow even more. Games like StarCraft 2, Minecraft, or Valheim have followed suit, recognizing the power of user-generated content. I hope this has given you an insight on how Warcraft 3 and its world editor were much more influential to the gaming ecosystem community than it looked like, and how a tool, when correctly delivered with a game, can contribute to its success far beyond expectations. And well, I think that's it for today. Thanks for staying with me, and see you in the next one.